Well, good afternoon to you. It's 407 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. Coming up a little over an hour from now, 5:30, Mark Green, the Congressman, Chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, joins us. We have a lot of questions for him about the well-being of our country, our sovereignty, those drones flying over New Jersey. A lot to discuss. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Joining us now, another great American, another great congressman. Andy Harris is here. He represents Maryland's 1st Congressional District. He's the chairman of the House Freedom Caucus. Sir, good to have you back with us.
Great to be with you, Vince.
Are members of Congress chattering amongst themselves about these drones that are flying over our country? What's happening there?
Well, we certainly wanted to get to the bottom of it and figure out what's happening. I mean, the Department of Homeland Security probably ought to be securing our homeland instead of releasing millions of people into the interior and then babysitting them. So, look, we need to return to the fundamentals. Trump administration will do that. The days of, things flying in our skies with nobody knowing what the heck is going on are probably going to be behind us.
I hope so. I mean, it's the craziest thing because they say they're not U.S. military. They don't believe they're foreign adversaries. They don't know what they are. They say they don't pose a threat to the country. It can't be all of those things, can it, Congressman?
No, you're absolutely right. Like, how exactly do they know they're not foreign military? I mean, we have, tens of thousands of Chinese nationals have infiltrated our border that we know of. And now they're saying, well, we absolutely know this can't be foreign military. Well, of course it can be foreign military. You can buy these drones, you can fly them, you can program them, you can monitor with them. Of course they could be. Exactly, let us in on how you know they're not.
Yes, and every time they tell us, they're like, well, they pose no threat. According to who? You claim you know nothing about them, so how can you arrive at that conclusion? It's very frustrating. So, yeah, we'll talk to Congressman Mark Green coming up, see if he has any more information at 5:30. Congressman Andy Harris, I do want to talk to you about what's happening in the United States. I understand that surveys have demonstrated that among American students, we are not doing well, that the United States is slipping in international rankings. Our education systems are not doing well. We're behind a whole bunch of other countries. What is happening, sir?
Well, what's happening is, just like you say, we're falling behind other nations, and it's no surprise because our school system is predominantly a public school system. It's controlled by teachers' unions whose primary interests are not the students. It's the interests of the teachers. And we see that when, big school systems like Chicago go on strike for months. I mean, come on, you really have the students' interest in mind when you shut your schools and stop learning? Of course not. So, until we bring the teachers' unions, under control, we are not going to have a successful primary school system. That's just the way it is.
The survey was called Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study, known as TIMSS. And it was administered last year to 4th and 8th graders from dozens of education systems all around the planet. And the results, which were just released, found that since 2019, American 4th graders have declined 18 points in math, while 8th graders have declined 27 points in mathematics. And, this is math, and of course there's also science data here, but I'm also concerned about literacy, Congressman, because especially all the education experts tell us that if a child can't read by the 3rd grade, that kind of sets their course for the rest of their life.
That's absolutely right. 3rd grade is key. You have to, make sure that children can read by age 3. We're not teaching children to read by age 3 in all our public school systems. We're getting our clock cleaned on the math and science. We spend tens of billions of dollars on, quote, STEM, education, and then it's miserably failing. So it's about time that we put competition in our school system, that we open up charter schools, we have school vouchers. We need competition in order to bring up the quality of our education in America.
What role could the incoming Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, play in all of this? How important is the Department of Education to righting the ship?
Well, first of all, I'm a firm believer we should just eliminate the Department of Education. But, hey, if we're not going to eliminate it, then let's incentivize states to actually do school choice. So, for instance, we give hundreds, of millions of dollars, billions of dollars to states. Let's condition some of that upon a real school choice program for their failing schools. So, instead of shoveling money at failing schools, in states, and Maryland included. Why not give that money to choice programs where parents can take their students out of a failing school and put them into a school that will actually educate their children?
Yes. And meanwhile, the Department of Education is doling out all this cash to institutions who are using, for instance, racial prejudice in admissions. You've got transgender ideology being advanced by the Department of Education. Biden's administration literally recrafted the definition of the word sex in Title IX in order to hurt women, both academically and in athletics. They've been focused on DEI initiatives, which do nothing to actually help people and instead instill more racial prejudice. So it kind of seems that the department's really got its eye off the ball.
Absolutely. Look, it's reading, writing, arithmetic. It's not that complicated what we need to teach people in a school, and you're absolutely right. You know, we take schools, and when a school, for instance, finds that, well, perhaps maybe Asian Americans actually outperform other students, and they are attracted to a high-ranking charter school, as happened in Northern Virginia, or a high-ranking public school. Well, we have to discriminate against them. We have to have diversity. No, you actually have to have excellence. That's what America is about. It's about excellence. It's about a meritocracy. It's about you work hard, you play by the rules, you advance, and our public school system is simply not giving the children of America an opportunity to advance.
As we talk about getting back to basics, Congressman, I should also point out, which is for the purposes of this topic, you're a medical doctor as well, and right now, America's health is in decline. We have all sorts of chronic illness. That was certainly one of the motivating factors for why voters supported President Trump. They liked, some percentage of them definitely liked that he was focusing on chronic illness and health and the well-being of America. He's named RFK Jr. to be the next HHS Secretary to focus on that mission. What do you make of the current state of American health, and what role has the government played in leading us there?
Well, I had the director of the National Institutes of Health in front of my subcommittee a couple of weeks ago, and I made the point that America is getting sicker, not healthier. We're investing record amounts of money in the NIH, records amount of money in the SNAP program, the food stamp program, the school lunch program, things like that, and our citizens are getting sicker. I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr., look, I don't agree with everything he says, but let me tell you something. He's 100% right on nutrition. We have a country with a problem with overweight, obesity, leading to hypertension issues, type 2 diabetes issues, cancer issues, et cetera. We have to deal with it.
Yes.
So let's, take our head out of the sand. Let's, for instance, I've been a strong advocate of stop buying non-nutritious foods and sugary soft drinks in the food stamp program. I mean, it's called the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and it's now become the Supplemental Calorie Assistance Program. I mean, it's just not right. We're not doing right by Americans.
Yes, we're subsidizing garbage and making Americans unhealthy. Lastly, Congressman, at some point somebody should do an economic assessment of what it would mean to make America more healthy. Because in Congress, there's always this chatter about, how can we control costs? How can we cut spending? If you look at the biggest items, it's usually healthcare spending that the federal government is doing, using federal tax dollars. That really is the big line item, one of them, in addition to, of course, the debt and the military. And so if that's the case, how much more money could we save if Americans just got more healthy?
Look, you're absolutely right, and it is the largest line item. If you include Medicare and Medicaid, it eclipses Social Security, it eclipses defense budget, it eclipses your debt. It is the single largest line item is health care. We know for a fact that the cost of diabetes, hypertension, these all have significant healthcare contributory costs. We think now that Alzheimer's disease actually may be due to metabolic imbalance. We could save hundreds of billions of dollars just by by making America healthy again. Yeah. And that struck a nerve because a lot of moms around the country, they're looking at what's going on with the youngest generation, and they're saying something's not right here. This is not how, children are not supposed to be overweight and obese to the extent they are in the first, second, and third grades, for instance. They know something's wrong. I think we're onto something, and I hope the new administration, I do believe, they will lead us in a new direction.
I sure hope so. Congressman Andy Harris, I know you have a busy day, so I'm grateful that you spent some time with us. Thank you, sir. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.
There he is, Congressman Andy Harris of the Fighting First District in Maryland. Good to chat with him. Let's see. We got a lot of calls coming in, as you might imagine. Let's take Madison calling in from Virginia now, line 6. Madison, you're on the Vince Callahan Show.
Hey, sir, how you doing? Thanks for taking me.
Yes, sir.
I was I was listening to your conversation with the congressman there, and I think that you're both right. Although I disagree with completely doing away with the Department of Education. Now, I'm a teacher, but I do think that it needs to be revamped from the floor up. I was talking to your screener there, and I was telling him that I am a teacher currently in the city.
Yep.
And I was sharing with him some incidents that took place just over the last month. For example, we had a student that went on a stabbing spree. I happen to be a Marine veteran, and I was the guy who took the knife from the kid. He ended up stabbing 3 other students. That student is now back in the school. And as you can, common sense tells you that there are several teachers within the school that fear for their lives. But the powers that be right now won't have consequences for the students that have these maladaptive behaviors. About a week after that, we had a student that was shot right outside the front of the school. And the ambulance came and took the student out. But, the other piece about this is you never hear about these things on the news.
No.
And then you couple that with the fact that the curriculum is just abysmal. They come up with these things called best practices, when the fact of the matter is that we really need to return to fundamentals. What's happening is we're more concerned about gender dysphoria than we are reading, writing, and arithmetic. And so until we really have the common sense come back in, and I'm looking forward to the regime change.
Yeah.
I voted for Trump. I ran for Congress in the 3rd, and he endorsed me down in the 3rd District of Virginia. The thing about it is that we do need to get back to common sense. We need to get rid of these people that feel as though simply because they have a degree that they know what's best for the students. And we need to get back to, 2 + 2 = 4.
Yes.
Get back to teaching students how to write in cursive, critical thinking, things of that nature. That's just not happening right now. And another issue is the fact that, kids are more concerned about social things than they are academics. Everywhere in the school, it's hard to teach because, everybody's on their cell phone. And they tell teachers that, hey, you need to take the cell phones away from students. But how can a teacher actually do that without violating the rights of the student? And the fact that there are no consequences, even if you do, other than if the student gets upset enough, then the teacher can be reprimanded for upsetting the student.
Well, also, if you're a teacher who's not a Marine veteran, who's fearful for their life, that there are students who will stab people who confront them, that might be a disincentive to try and tell a student, hey, hand me your phone.
Correct. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, and that's the issue, see, because especially in high school, some of these students are rather large. And, I am not a teacher. I be a Marine, and then I became a chaplain officer. So I spent a lot of time in the military and did a lot of other things and kind of fell into teaching.
Yeah.
And it just so happened, that, for example, when the stabbing spree took place, I just so happened to be on a break. And I was sitting in an area where I could actually see the incident developing. And, when I saw the kid pull out let's call it a shank, I happened to go in and, just training took over at that point. And, but I got there a little bit late where I did see some of the students get injured. But not every teacher can do that. And my wife is a teacher, and I wouldn't want her in a situation like that.
Madison, did you say that was there any coverage of this at your high school? Any news coverage?
The issue. No, there's no coverage of that. Here's the other piece. The student was then back in school like a week later.
Yeah.
And, we had a meeting about it, and you had officials in the school that were arguing that, the kid was a SPED kid, okay, but when things like this happen, they decide whether or not it's a manifestation of his whatever disability. And there are enough professionals, and in this particular case, it was clear that it was not a manifestation. And so, if there is a manifestation, then it makes it a little more difficult. But in a situation like this, it doesn't matter. The kid should have been transferred out or criminally charged.
Do they?
For
Madison. Obviously, you and the other staff know about this. The faculty, some of whom, as you point out, are living in fear of the very students they're supposed to be educating. Were the parents notified? Did they alert the community as to what happened, or do they just keep that quiet?
You know what? In this particular case, I'm not certain that the community was made aware, because I was in the middle of it as it was going on. I know that there were some other incidents. I think like when the kid was shot, there was a brief shutdown of the school.
Yeah.
But even with that, I mean, even with that, there was like nobody knew. So supposedly the school went on lockdown, but you still had students in the hall, being social and not listening to authority figures in the school. And that is the way it is. And that's not the only school I've seen this happen in.
Yeah.
So and I worked in a few schools in the district, and that just seems to be what it is.
All right, Madison.
Instead of worrying about,
Madison, we're up against it, but please stay in touch. I'm really grateful for you being so forthcoming about what you're seeing. And, boy, I hope it can change. I really hope it can change for all the reasons you just laid out. Thank you, sir, for this call. I really appreciate that. Coming up, the latest effort to take down Pete Hegseth, and we'll get into the FBI director announcing his resignation. It's all ahead on the Vince Coglianese Show. Good afternoon to you. It's 4:36 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up, Congressman Mark Green, chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, is here. We'll ask him for an update on the drones that are flying over the United States of America. No word from the president at all. You can join us, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Speaking of Homeland Security, who else is excited that Tom Homan is going to be the border czar? Isn't that great? Tom Homan just went to Chicago, where they have an insane Democrat mayor running an insanely run city. And Tom Homan said in Chicago, hey, if Brandon Johnson, if the mayor of Chicago gets in our way, guess what's going to happen?
If he impedes us, if he knowingly harbors and conceals an illegal alien, I will prosecute him.
And while Homan says there are no plans for family separation, President Trump's immigration surrogate offered this blunt take.
You need to take the child home with you?
You're going to take the child home with you, he said. And at the beginning there, you heard him say, if he gets in our way, if he knowingly harbors and conceals an illegal alien, obviously referring specifically to federal law, quote, I will prosecute him, said Tom Homan. So a little bit, if you don't like sanctuary cities, you're going to love Tom Homan. It's going to be great. Really, really amazing. Bill Malugin over at the Fox News Channel has some disturbing new numbers to share with us today on what the ICE data reveal about who is poured into our country. The nationalities of they say, of at least 1.4 million illegal aliens in the U.S. who've been ordered deported by a DOJ immigration judge, but they're still in the U.S. and they're not in ICE custody. You ready for some of these numbers? Let's see. China, 37,908 people. These are illegal aliens, Chinese foreign nationals who have been ordered deported, but they're not in ICE custody, and they're running free in the United States of America. Nearly 40,000 people. Nearly 40,000 people. That is also true of Brazil, which has 38,677 foreign nationals here. Haiti, 32,363. These are just the people who've already been deported. I'm not talking about all the other illegals who are here. These are the ones who've been ordered deported, yet they're still running free in the country. Venezuela, 22,749. India, 17,940. Pakistan, 7,760. Iran, 2,618. Afghanistan, 1,708. And Mauritania, 3,822. These are all people, again, who've been ordered deported, but they're actually just running free in the United States of America. Bill says that the majority of the 1.4 million plus illegal immigrants ordered deported are from the easy-to-remove countries of the Northern Triangle and Mexico, and will likely be a starting point for the Trump administration's mass deportations. Among those countries, we're looking at hundreds of thousands of people. El Salvador, 204,000. Honduras, 262,000. Guatemala, 253,000. And Mexico, 252,000. That's an easy one. You don't even need flights or anything for that. You just open a door and shove. Push. Get out. You got to go back. 252,000 from Mexico. The ICE data also give an official list of the recalcitrant countries that refuse to take back their own citizens for deportation and won't cooperate with the United States. Among them, Bhutan, Burma, Cuba, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Hong Kong, India, Iran, Laos, Pakistan, China. That's a big one. Russia, Somalia, and Venezuela. We're not taking them back. Well, how'd they get here? If they came through Mexico, make them Mexico's problem. Mexico, let them slide right into the United States. Let's just say, go back to Mexico. Not just remain in Mexico, but go back to Mexico. You're their problem now. Yeah. I will say to President Trump's great credit, as we've been discussing with the Center for Immigration Studies, Todd Bensman keeps joining us to discuss it in such great coverage. He's had a lot of success so far. He's not even president of the United States yet. And all he did was threaten Mexico with tariffs. He just said to President Claudia Sheinbaum, the new president down there, it's not AMLO anymore, it's a little more complicated to say it. President Sheinbaum is there, and he said, I'll tell you what, you keep letting these people flow, as soon as I get into office, January 20th, I'm imposing massive tariffs on Mexico. Massive. And now, all of a sudden, well, presto changeo, Mexico is not allowing people to flow in the same numbers anymore into the United States. And in fact, people within Mexico, the illegal aliens, are complaining that they are having trouble moving further north because the Mexicans are now impeding them, the Mexican government. And some are even planning on, well, maybe I'll just go back home. Good. That's the whole point. See, consequence culture. That's what we need. And so President Trump has already brought that back. He's not even president of the United States yet, and he's achieving great things. So thank you. Thank you to President Trump for doing that. It's a really big deal. Among his other plans, President Trump wants to replace the FBI director, Christopher Wray, who's been in that position since August of 2017. And good news today, he's resigning. Christopher Wray is not going to be the FBI director when President Trump arrives in the Oval Office, or at least that's according to what he said to an all-hands meeting today at the FBI. He announced that he plans to step down. It's obvious he needed to. I mean, what was he going to do? He was going to hold on and then have President Trump fire him? And President Trump himself, really in almost in a gentlemanly way, said that, he doesn't want to get to the point that he needs to fire Christopher Wray. He told Meet the Press this week. And here's what President Trump said. And remember, of course, he nominated a guy to replace Wray. So what is the message from that? You don't have to have that many brain cells to come to a conclusion on this subject. He announced that Kash Patel is the incoming FBI director. That means there will not be a job for Christopher Wray. That means he does not have confidence in Christopher Wray. Time to go. Here's President Trump and Kristen Welker this past weekend.
Are you going to fire the current FBI director, Christopher Wray, who you appointed?
Well, I can't say I'm thrilled with him. He invaded my home. I'm suing the country over it. He invaded Mar-a-Lago. I'm very unhappy with the things he's done. And crime is at an all-time high. Migrants are pouring into the country that are from prisons and from mental institutions, as we've discussed. I can't say I'm thrilled. I don't want to be Joe Biden and give you an answer and then do the exact opposite.
We're going to talk about
I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to say is I certainly cannot be happy with him. you take a look at what's happened. And then when I was shot in the ear, he said, "Oh, maybe it was shrapnel." Where's the shrapnel coming from? Is it coming from heaven? I don't think so. So we need somebody to straighten. I have a lot of respect for the FBI, but the FBI's respect has gone way down over the last number of years.
Don't you have to fire him in order to make room for Kash Patel if he is, in fact, confirmed?
Well, I mean, it would sort of seem pretty obvious that if Kash gets in, he's going to be taking somebody's place, right? And somebody is the man that you're talking about.
All right, so there's two ways to take this. One is President Trump, of course, is just, as I pointed out, just being a gentleman, saying, "Hey, look, you understand how this is going, Chris Wray. I don't need to tell you. You should resign. I've already nominated somebody to replace you. The writing is on the wall. Read it." The other piece is, you know what Kristen Welker's really trying to do? She wants Trump to say that he's going to start his administration with a, quote, scandal. Remember, he fired James Comey. And the firing of James Comey was used as the predicate for the launch of the Mueller investigation, which was designed to bring Trump's presidency to a screeching halt. So the media are pawing around right now in the dark for a scandal that can disrupt Trump's presidency. So when Kristen Welker says, "Are you going to fire the FBI director?" what she's really trying to do is sing the same tune that they were singing back in 2017. You're not allowed to do that. Now, of course, he is. It's well within his rights as president of the United States to fire the FBI director, and he did, and they turned it into a human rights violation. How dare you? How can you do this? He's the president of the United States. The FBI director serves at his pleasure. And so President Trump has already nominated somebody, and Christopher Wray is now saying, as of today, I get it, I'm on the way out. In fact, Wray just said it for himself. Here he is making a public statement not long ago.
After weeks of careful thought, I've decided the right thing for the Bureau is for me to serve until the end of the current administration in January and then step down.
Why did it take weeks? Why did it take weeks of thought on this subject? You should have come to this conclusion instantly. Like, okay, well, he's already nominated somebody. I'm not going to have a job. I'm out. I'll just resign. So there he is making that announcement. Before Trump takes office, he is set to resign that post so that Kash Patel can arrive and take the seat. That's the plan. Although I fully expect that there will be people within that agency who are going to dedicate themselves to trying to submarine Kash Patel before he can get there. So get ready for those news stories, whatever they might be. FBI data reveals that Kash Patel, blah, 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 blah. We're going to get, you know what I mean? Or sources say, they won't even attribute it to the FBI. It'll be a no fingerprint operation. Sources say that Kash Patel is actually a foreign agent of our adversaries or of Iran or Russia or China or whatever. Get ready for this. But right now, Christopher Wray says that he is stepping down. Now, remember the time, what I just said, 2007, August of 2017 is when Chris Wray arrived. Now, has the FBI been running great since then? Have there been any scandals that have involved the FBI and its leadership at all during this time period? Well, yeah, of course. 2017, what that means is that Wray was at the helm of the FBI as they were in possession of the Hunter Biden laptop and were lying to you about its existence. They had the laptop. And yet the intel community came out and said, this thing's probably Russian disinformation. The FBI had it. They took it into custody from the laptop repairman who had it in the first place. The FBI had it. And they lied to you about it. And then not only did they lie to you about it, but they had, remember the name Elvis Chan, the FBI agent? They had FBI officials who were hectoring the social media companies into censoring the American election in 2020. Those were FBI people doing that. Get ready. Here it comes. There was a big Aspen Institute event where they even explicitly war-gamed, what if something comes out on Hunter Biden as they're doing these ridiculous air quotes? Oh, and sure enough, it arrived. The Hunter Biden story. And what did the big tech companies do? They censored it. Conditioned. What's the word? Groomed by the FBI to censor the Hunter Biden scandal. That was on Chris Wray's watch. What is the single biggest investigation that the FBI has conducted in American history? Oh, that would be into January 6, 2021. So the FBI took people off of child predation cases, child exploitation cases, and moved them to this big national security event of arresting Trump supporters. We have to do that. And they're doing it to this day. Thousands upon thousands of people arrested and charged for voting for Donald Trump, for opposing the current regime, for protesting the current regime, for stepping foot into their own United States Capitol building, absolutely had their lives turned upside down and called before kangaroo courts where they were forced to mouth the lyrics that they reject Donald Trump and they're ashamed of their ways. Things like that. Locked in jail, all under Christopher Wray's watch. All. They raided Mar-a-Lago. The FBI raided Mar-a-Lago. Armed agents went to the home of the former and now future president of the United States and turned it into a highly publicized, preposterous event over a paperwork dispute. That's what they did under Christopher Wray's watch. Of course, if you're raiding the home of a president of the United States, a Secret Service protectee, guess who's read in on that particular raid? That would be the director of the FBI. Of course, Christopher Wray knew about that and signed off on it. And you heard President Trump just say it in that Meet the Press interview. They raided Mar-a-Lago. They rifled through Melania's underwear drawer, the freaks. And then, what else did they do? They brought fake classified cover sheets with them and then dropped them on the floor, took photos of them in order to stage evidence against Trump as if he was some sort of threat to national security. The former president of the United States, the man who can declassify literally anything as president. That's what they did. They also raided the homes of pro-life activists. They went after people who sang church hymns outside of abortion mills. They sent SWAT teams to the homes of people like Mark Houck. That's the tenure of Christopher Wray at the FBI. And then, of course, what President Trump mentioned as well, casting doubt on the idea that President Trump was even shot on July 13th of this year in congressional testimony. Just preposterous. Christopher Wray is long overdue to leave that post. And it's unfortunate he's going to stay in it for another month. But he announced his resignation today, recognizing that Kash Patel is on the way in. Kash Patel has been, as so many of these nominees, working the halls of Congress. I'll play some audio from him in just a moment, reacting to the news that Christopher Wray is resigning. Kash Patel walking the halls of Congress today, asked about Christopher Wray resigning his post at the FBI.
What's your reaction to Wray's resignation? We look forward to a very smooth transition at the FBI, and I'll be ready to go on day one.
A very good answer. That's the smooth answer you give when you're a nominee. We look forward to a very smooth transition at the FBI, and I will be ready to go on day one. Kash Patel, not the only person reacting to Chris Wray's departure. President Trump himself has some thoughts on the subject. I'll share those with you in a moment. And speaking of nominees for big posts in the government, Pete Hegseth is looking good these days to become the next Secretary of Defense, but the attacks are still coming from the media and the government itself. The details ahead.